welcome to Book Club Preview. I'm Michael, and today we're looking at Ender's Game, Chapter 4, Ender's Teacher. And this is the chapter that, oh my goodness, unfolds all the secrets and really shows us an incredibly shocking end. One of my favorite twists in a story ever. But let me hit it really fast because this is a long chapter. Starts off with Admiral Chamraganagar. I have no idea how to pronounce that. Talking with Graf, and they're kind of positioning for power a little bit, kind of teasing each other. And the Admiral says, "You know what, Graf? I think I'm gonna like you." And Graf says, "I don't really care if you like me." And the Admiral says, "That's kind of what I like about you." So they're talking about Ender, but they end up just trying to say that we got to figure out the best way to move Ender forward. Ender's on Eros, and this planet feels strange. The corridors are short and tight, and it just doesn't feel comfortable. The gravity is like halfway. Ender doesn't have any friends. He doesn't get to go to class like normal students. He has private tutors. He's all by himself except with Graf, and eating with Graf, or seeing Graf, or seeing a tutor once, and then that tutor's gone. He never sees him twice. And he's just trying to get a feel of his life here in Eros. And one thing he really enjoys is this battle simulator. This battle simulator starts off, and there's a lot of different controls, and it's pretty crazy and very complex, but he just starts off as a fighter. And he's piloting the fighter and understanding how the fighter works. And then as he gets more levels, he becomes a squad. He has a group of fighters. And then he's figuring out how that works, and he's winning against the computer. And then he has a fleet, so like several squads. And then he figures out how that works, and he levels up, and he becomes a commander, and he has a whole group. And the game becomes more and more and more and more complex. Until finally, Ender says, "Man, is the game finished? Does it get any more complex? It's kind of too easy now." And Graf is like, that's interesting. The next day, Ender wakes up, and there's some random old guy sitting in his room. He's just sitting there, calm and peaceful. Ender doesn't ask any questions. He's like, okay. He walks around the guy. He takes a shower. He gets ready. The guy's still there. His eyes are open. He's just peaceful. Ender tries to leave his room, but the door's locked. Ender feels like this is some kind of game. He doesn't want to play the game, so he just tries to exercise, tries to read a book, tries to do whatever. But after a few hours, finally he's tired of it, and he goes over to, I think, his bed or something. He gets a little close to the guy, and the guy grabs Ender's leg, flips him, and Ender hits the ground. And then the guy, before Ender can look back at the guy's peaceful again. And Ender's like, "What? That's weird." He does some other things, and finally he turns his back to the guy to maybe try the door again or something. And the guy starts attacking Ender. Boom, 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 and he pins him down to the ground. And Ender's kind of stuck, and he's like, "What are you doing?" And the guy says, "Well, I attacked you once. Why didn't you defend yourself? Why didn't you crush me?" And we find out that they fight some more, okay? That this guy is Rackham, the hero of the second invasion. And he says, "You are weak because you've had no teacher. You've had no enemy. But I am your enemy now. And you will learn everything you need to know from your enemy." And so Mazer Rackham becomes kind of a companion, is what they call it, mentor to Ender. And he's always with Ender, teaching, training, coaching, observing Ender. And he shows him everything. Finally, Ender's like, "Well, okay, show me your battle. What happened with your battle? I've seen all these other videos. How did you defeat the enemy?" And Mazer Rackham says, "Okay, well, here it is. People don't always believe me, but this is what I thought. The buggers are like ants. Like they evolved from ants. And ants or bees or whatever have a hive and they have a queen. And the queen thinks for the workers. And he said, so as the buggers were flying around, I was looking for the queen that was commanding them, thinking for them. And I found her and I killed her. And then everything stopped. As far as like the army, like the bugger army, they all froze. The buggers inside the ships were still alive, but they had no one to command them. They had no will, no choice of their own, because the queen died. There was no evidence of a queen because they got exploded, so people didn't really believe Mazer, but that's what he thought. And so he tells Ender all of these different secrets and strategies. Well, they're not secrets for the people on the planet, but for the world, they're certainly secrets. Talks about the weapons, the technology, everything, so Ender can understand that his goal is to kill the queens because that will destroy the army. After a while, Ender's still practicing some games, and Mazer Rackham's programming some games for him. And then Mazer says, okay, it's time for the next level. It's time for you to command. So they change things out. They give Ender like a headset. He doesn't have the same controls anymore. He can't go inside a ship anymore. He says, now you're leading a team. And who's he leading? Well, it ends up that Petra, Dink, Bean, Ally, and all the other guys that he was in battle school with are the toon leaders, the squad leaders that he is now in command of. And so his job is to command these guys to get them ready to actually battle simulate against Mazer Rackham, who Mazer is going to pretend to be the buggers and be programming the AI side to fight against Ender as far as like his training goes. So now Ender is in command. As Ender practices, he gets ready, there becomes like the next level, and Mazer says, look, we're going to really get started now, and you're going to be battling me. But I don't want you to complain because it's going to be hard, it's going to be tough. We're not going to be easy on you. It's going to be crazy. And Ender says, well, I'm not going to complain. And Mazer says, listen, I left my wife, I left my children, my grandchildren are my age. He's like 60. And he said, I have lost everything, and I've been waiting for you. So when you can bring my dead wife back from the grave and give her to me, then you can start complaining. And Ender's looking at him, he's like, what are you talking about? And he's like, this is going to be hard. Don't complain, because I don't want to hear it. And Ender says, okay, fine. You've traded a lot. You're not worried about my happiness. Let's go for it. And so Ender starts getting into these battles. Okay, and at first they're kind of easy, but then they get harder and harder and harder and harder and harder, just like in battle school. When Ender's awake, he's pushing his mind to the limits. He's pushing his team to the limits. But when he tries to go to sleep, and this is the really sucky thing, his dreams are crazy. He's back in the game with the giant. He's killing children. He's seeing all the worst parts of his history repeating over and over and over again. And so he can't really get any sleep. He sleeps, wakes up, has these crazy dreams. He actually tries to tell Mazer about these dreams, but he doesn't take them that seriously. And Ender decides, okay, I'm not gonna share my dreams with you anymore. Let's go back into battle. But it just kept going and going and going. Eventually, Petra, she's in a battle, and she just snaps. She breaks. She loses it. She's like, ah! And she actually like goes dead. She goes silent. And Ender has to give someone else control of her ships. And she's crying. And after the battle is over, they almost lost, but they defeated the buggers. And Petra was crying. And Ender realizes that he's putting a lot of pressure on his team too. So he tries to take on more pressure on himself. Well, Ender ends up like he just has like some really crazy battle. It's really hard, and then he goes and he just passes out on his table. There's blood everywhere. They take him to his bed. He sleeps for a few days. And then they wake up and he's like, okay, time to wake up. You got another battle. And he goes back and battles more. Until finally, there's one last battle. And in this battle, Mazer's like, hey, look, this is the last test. No one's made it this far. You are the only student that's ever done that got this well. If you pass this test, you pass. You become the commander, and it's time to go to the next level. There's a whole bunch of other people watching Ender. People Ender doesn't know, but like Anderson and Graf, they're all suited up and they all look important. And they said they're here to watch you. They're here to watch you do this final test. And so Ender gets into the game. He gets his squad leaders. He doesn't know what's going to happen. He's really tired and exhausted, but he starts to do some drills. His mind is getting going. It's active. And then the battle simulation starts. And there's a planet. And around that planet are like 5,000 enemy ships. And Ender has like 25 ships, okay? And they say, okay, Ender, your goal is to defeat this simulation. At this point, Ender, he gives up in a sense. Just like in battle school when he was fighting against two armies and he just beat the enemy by getting a soldier through the gate. He says, you know what? I give up. There's no way I can win this. If you guys are going to cheat, I'm going to cheat too. And so he sends his unit into a formation and he sends it straight towards the planet. Now, it's not perfectly that clean. He has some strategy, he has some tactics, but eventually he goes straight for the planet and he shoots off the little doctor. And the little doctor is a bomb, like the atomic bomb. It hits something and then it turns the material into like its basic parts, back into dust. But when it hits something big, it actually explodes again. So then it wavers off and it loses its power. But if the wave hits something big again, boom, it expands again. So these little doctors hit the planet, boom, 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 and they just explode out, destroying the 5,000 plus bugger ships and of course all of Ender's ships. And he wins. And he turns around and he thinks that everyone's going to be angry at him because he kind of just gave up in this. But all of the people are like crying. They're clapping. They're on their knees. And they're just like, oh, thank God, Ender. Oh. Graf goes up to him and he hugs him. He's like, Ender, you did it. You did it. You won. And Ender's like, whoa, what are you guys talking about? They say, you beat him. You beat him. You beat the buggers. And Ender's sleepy. He's kind of feeling weird. He's like, I beat Mazer. I beat Mazer Rackham. I beat you. And Mazer comes out and he says, no, I was never the enemy. I was never programming the AI. That was always a real battle with real ships, with real pilots against real buggers. We just tricked you into thinking it was a game because if you knew it was real, you would have never done it. And Ender's like, oh my goodness. And he just kind of walks away and he leaves and he just falls asleep on his bed. And he's just out. Now, a lot of stuff happens while Ender's asleep. There's a war on Earth. There's a war in space. And the different leaders are trying to kill Ender or save Ender to have Ender be their general, their leader, so they can conquer the world. There's a lot of battles. Things are going on. Ender's crew tries to protect him and keep him safe. People think he's crazy because he's just like 5 days. He's just out. But Ender finally wakes up, learns all about this, and it's over. There's peace on Earth. There's some proposal from Locke, which is Peter, who made peace with everyone, and everything's safe. They won. Ender's side, Ender's team won. And then they all cry. They all hug together, and they say, "We finished. We won. Now we're kids again. What do kids do?" And Petra says, "They'll probably make us go to school. I think there's a law for that." And they all laugh and they cry and they hug. And that is the end of chapter 14. Oh man, oh, that part where Ender finds out that it wasn't a game, that he really destroyed all the buggers. He killed all the queens. And Ender's just crying because he didn't want to be a murderer, but they tricked him. They tricked him into being a murderer. Oh man. Excessive. Excessive means too much. Impromptu means you're making it up as you go along. Apathy means there's no feeling, there's no emotion. Disconcerted is also like not caring. Excruciating means intense, very painful. Imagine if I took your finger and I went, ah! That would be pain beyond your ability to bear it. Pinioned is like pinned. Pinned in a way that you can't move, that you can't do anything. Think of, I'm trying to think. Think of someone captured and their hands tied and their legs tied. Compensation is a reward for doing something. So I think Ender's compensation for winning is having some pride or something like that. Inscrutable is, no, I would think of it as like inscrutable. I think of it as, you know what? Let me double check this one. Okay. Inscrutable is like mysterious or unknowing, unable to see the truth. Intricacies are like the small details that make something up. Here I have like a sweater. Maybe it's a little bit hard to see on the video, the camera, but there are little squares, black squares, white squares, intermixed. And the intricacies are the little fibers going in and out to make this shape and this color. The small details of something. Just a few more here. One, rictus is like a facial, an expression. I think like he sees like a dead rictus, kind of frozen grimace. Petulant is like childlike rudeness, misbehaving, being rude. And Ender's tired and he's trying to be petulant to Mazer Rackham during his test, and Razor says, hey, look, not for this test. After this, you can be petulant, but not for this one. I need you to focus, Ender. And Ender does. The last one, reprisal, is like a payback, coming back, a punishment. And Ender's a little bit worried that if he cheats in the game, that he might get some punishment for that. But there is none. There's actually congratulations. That leaves us with our discussion question. How did you feel when you read that Ender wasn't actually playing a game, that he was really battling the buggers, and he actually just killed every single one of them? Wow. Of course, please make your own discussion question. That is all the time that we have for today. But thank you so much for joining me for this episode of Book Club Preview. The book isn't over. There's still another chapter left. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.